Welcome. I'm Julie Bacon, and you're listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast, a podcast for dog handlers who are on a mission to achieve big goals. Here I share lessons, insights, personal stories, and tools you can apply during your next show, trial, or test to help you strengthen your mental game and hopefully cue more consistently. Be sure to check out the show notes where you'll find details about the episodes, plus important links, including the link to the Dogged Planner and Workbook created just for handlers on a mission. So if you're ready to improve your competitive mindset, get out of your own way, and connect with your dog like never before, then it's time to get comfy, bring an open mind, and work your mindset. Hey there, and welcome back to the podcast. All right, this week we're talking about something that, probably doesn't get much attention and might be a little bit weird. And actually, some of you honestly are going to go, oh, that would be a great problem to have, okay? But stick with me. And the topic is that sometimes frustrating letdown that happens after a big success. It could be earning a title, like could be earning your first title with a dog, or it could be achieving a long-term goal, or even just wrapping up a great and fun trial weekend at your local club. So it doesn't really matter like how big it is. It's just that concept of like sometimes there's a letdown. Like handlers have literally told me that like some Mondays they just feel like the general blues like after a weekend, right? And a lot of handlers will feel it after accomplishing a big goal, like especially like, something long-term, like I said, like a mock or a POC or an ACH or something like that. They're kind of like, what's next? Okay. So it's interesting because we work so hard for something. It seems really far away. We're really good about like, creating our milestones and figuring out our progress and all that other kind of stuff. And then you reach it, right? And then what, And sometimes people don't really have a plan for what's after. And I know a lot of people just go into like kind of just zone out and they just go into like autopilot. They just keep going to the same trials and the same things and whatever without really thinking about, well, what's the next goal? What is the next thing I'm going after? And it can leave people feeling just meh, right? Unmotivated, maybe even lost, and this is like a real thing with Olympic athletes. And you've probably heard these stories before. Like Michael Phelps is probably the most recent, very famous person to have reported like getting depressed, like full on clinically medicated, needing help, depressed, because he didn't know what was next. Right? His whole life had been, leading up to the things that he accomplished, and he just really didn't know what was next. And even if he had somewhat of a plan for, the following Monday, as it were, it just wasn't the same, right? It didn't fill him with the same level of motivation or inspiration or etc. So again, this is a thing. This is a real thing. It's been studied, big, successful Olympic athletes, get this, like this is a real thing. So today we're going to talk about why this happens, why it's completely normal. Yes, even if you didn't have an amazing weekend, it can still happen. And most importantly, like how to snap out of it and keep moving forward. Okay. All right. So let's start with like first things first, like what is it, or what are the characteristics of it? Okay. And truthfully, like, the phrase like after cue slump is really not necessarily true, because usually it's more than that, right? Most of us aren't chasing a single cue necessarily, although it could be like the last cue that you need for sure. But we're trying to string things together and make titles, or we're trying to take cues and points and make a bigger title or something like that, right? Or we have bigger milestones. But regardless, what we're really talking about is a post-goal slump, right? Or a post-milestone slump. That emotional drop might be small, might be massive, that hits after you hit a major milestone. And again, could have been finishing a title, could have been making the finals, could have been just like an amazing weekend at your local trial, right? Your local club. Okay. So I just want you to think about that. It's normal, and it's not just about the big things, okay? Like, the reason I bring up the local club thing is I get often from handlers, like on Monday, they just are like, have no energy. And it's not just about like being tired after the weekend. It's just about it can feel like a big letdown. Like you went from this like big adrenaline rush, over several days, and now you're just back to normal life, overnight. Like it didn't even happen, which is kind of like a weird thing. Okay. So here's some of I'm going to say most popular. This is by no means a definitive list, but here's some of the things I hear the most, right? Of like why this mental dip, this emotional dip happens, okay? The first is emotional. The high fades, right? After, when you accomplish something really big, it feels amazing. It feels amazing in the moment. There might be celebration. It might be something that you share with your friends. But once the excitement fades and everybody goes home, everybody goes back to their own homes and etc., like the excitement fades, and you kind of miss that emotional high. You're like, oh, well, I guess it's just back to normal, and everybody just kind of goes on with their lives again, right? Back to work on Monday, right? Another reason is your brain craves novelty. I know, again, with me and the brain and the research stuff, right? But our brains love novelty. They like chasing new things. We may think we don't like change, but our brains do like novelty. And once that goal is achieved, it stops being shiny. It stops being novel. It stops being as exciting because you've, quote, already done it. Okay. The third I kind of mentioned already a little bit, which is just the loss of adrenaline. Sometimes if you feel a slump after a trial weekend, it might just be the adrenaline. Okay. Competing spikes our adrenaline. Even for our dogs, it spikes their adrenaline. And when that rush is gone, that energy dips, right? And some people can go so far as, getting sick following a really big trial or like a week-long specialty or like the invitational week or finals week or something like that, because that adrenaline is going so hard and our body's giving everything to it that sometimes our response is physical as well, right? We might get sick. We might just have to sleep for 3 days. We might need recovery, like actual physical recovery as well. Okay. Another reason is we have unclear next steps, right? If we don't already have our next goal like teed up in the queue, lined up, however you want to say it, that it's kind of easy to feel like lost. Like, what do we do now? So not having those next steps can be a big part of it. Okay. All right. And finally, the other one I've got is, sometimes there's a pressure to repeat the success. Again, whether you just had a good weekend at your local club or whether you just like won Westminster, there's pressure to repeat that. And sometimes that pressure creates anxiety. Like, I don't know if I can do that again. Like I had such a great weekend, can I do that again? Can I keep it up? Now, is there pressure because maybe now my dog is moved up from novice to open or open to excellent or masters or something? Like, can I do that? Am I ready for that? Are people going to be watching or paying attention, etc.? So sometimes that pressure creates anxiety, and that anxiety, then how we respond to that anxiety, some of us either respond by taking action or some of us respond by retreating. So that could be another piece of what you're feeling in that like post goal achieving like twilight, I guess, right? All right, so let me take a quick break and then we're going to talk about how this kind of slump affects us. Struggling with ring nerves, inconsistency, or confidence? Let's fix that. With one-on-one coaching, we'll tackle your specific challenges and create a plan tailored to you, because your journey is unique and your mindset game should be too. My clients see breakthroughs every week. Are you next? Let's chat. Book a session now by heading to theqcoach.com. All right, back to it. Okay, so let's talk about how this kind of slump affects us as handlers. So here's some ways that it could show up. Could show up as lack of motivation, right? Which is kind of interesting because you think you had all this motivation and you're like, where does it go? Does it just vanish? Like, I had all this motivation. There's more stuff I want to do. Like, why can't I get myself back out there? Why can't I motivate to train or whatever? And sometimes what happens is we take a break because we're like, oh, yay, I just accomplished that. I'm going to take a break. But then that break gets longer and longer and longer. And before you know it, you're like, am I still on a break here? Like, I kind of forget. So we're going to talk about the fixes for that, but that's one way that shows up is we take sort of exceptionally long breaks after we achieve something big. Another one is that feeling of feeling aimless, right? Not being sure of what goal is next. So without knowing what that goal is, then what is it that we're training? Like, what is the purpose? What is the point? If I've got everything, like, am I just retired now? Like, what is next? What do I do next? Right? Which I realize is a lot of times when someone gets a puppy to start all over and frustrate themselves all over again. But a lot of times that's not the case. You still have more to do with your dogs, but you just haven't really defined it yet. The third, as I mentioned, like a little bit, is performance anxiety. Whether it comes from that pressure to repeat the success, it can also come from overthinking or worrying about the momentum. Like, can I keep up the momentum? Am I just expected to do this again? Or do other people, whoever those other people are, do they have these expectations of me? Do I share those? Do I care? Like, what's happening? And that sometimes what others think or just worrying about if we can maintain it can get us spiraling. And then finally, we can lose structure, in that our training starts to feel sort of unstructured. The word I was going to say was messy because, like, I know when I go out and train and I don't really have a plan or something I'm training for, then I tend to just go out there and like kind of phone it in or do the same stuff or just do like mini run throughs and things without ever working on something specific. So in that way, that's kind of what I mean by loss of structure, or what in my head feels messy. It just feels like I'm just going out there and, I don't know, doing or whatever instead of having a real plan. Okay. All right. So we know what it is. We felt it. We can recognize some of the signs of it. And maybe we can see this in our friends too. Sometimes, some of those signs and how it affects us. But regardless, like, let's figure out how to beat it, right? And keep moving forward. Okay. All right. So I came up with six ideas. Not definitive. You may have your own ideas, and I would love to hear what they are or how you got out of a slump after this. The first is celebrate, but don't stop. Okay. I want you to celebrate. Of course, I'm like your biggest cheerleader, whether we've met in person or not. I want you to celebrate. Okay. But I don't want a win to turn into like a complete stall out. Right. So I'll give you more in a minute, but like, just have that in your head that like we celebrate and we keep going. Okay. The second is to reframe that success as a stepping stone. Like, now that you got it, now that you celebrated it, instead of seeing it as an end point, think of it as just a bigger part of a bigger journey. Like, where to next, right? Third, get a new goal on paper quickly. Okay. If you don't already have one, take some time, right? Take some time, celebrate this success, maybe even take some time off. Sometimes the goals that we're chasing feel like marathons, or maybe they feel like sprints at the end as we're trying to really get something. And so we might need to back off and take some time for sure, but then use that time to figure out a new goal. And by the way, the new goal doesn't have to be a big one. Okay. It can be a small goal. Maybe you want to shift gears and pick up a new sport. Maybe this is the time to you want to get into scent work or something, or something else, some other venue. Or you've decided that, for the next few months, you're going to do things that your dog really enjoys. You're going to go, play barn hunt or swim or, do some other things. Those are goals. Right? To say that you want to take the summer off now and swim your dog and go camping and hiking and do some outdoor things and just kind of shift gears is a goal, but you need to have one, right? And while you're doing that, maybe we'll have the headspace to define what comes after that. Okay. But set a goal so that you keep moving forward. Okay. And of course, bonus points for writing it down and having some ideas of what the milestones are and how you're going to accomplish it. Okay. Fourth idea is stay consistent. Keep training. Even if you don't have your goal set, right? And you can back off the intensity if that's appropriate, but keep training, stay in shape, stay in condition, keep training, keep learning. We never stop learning in this sport. It's one of the most fun things. I mean, I'm sure every sport can and should say that, of course, but I just think it's really fun about our sport is that, our dogs are always evolving. We're always evolving. The training methods are always evolving. There's just so much. So keep training, stay out there. Fifth, train your confidence, not just your skills. Now, I'm doing a whole month of confidence in the membership, so confidence is a very much top of mind, which I'm sure is how it made it to this list. But every success brings new challenges. So which include maybe higher expectations. So don't give up on your mindset. Don't, let up on the accelerator, whether it's for your mindset or building your confidence or building your consistency. Make sure that you are working those things, not only your, dog skills, if you will, right? Not only your physical handling skills. All right. And my last one is look at the big picture, right? Always back up. I always talk about your why, why did you get into this sport? What is it you love about it? Why do you do this in the first place? And some of that will help pull you forward because you'll remember, oh, this is why I got into training dogs, or this is why I got into, being competitive with my dogs and really enjoying the competition aspect of it. Okay. So we want to reconnect with that, and that will help us find that pull that pulls us forward again and gets us re-engaged with whatever the next level is for you. Okay. All right. So a few other final notes and then I'll let you go. If you are in this mode, or if you've ever felt this mode, okay, first of all, it's normal. Okay. And it does not mean your motivation is gone forever. It also does not mean there is nothing left for you to conquer, achieve, go after. It means none of those things. Okay. And as I always tell you, careful about assigning meaning that isn't there, right? Because for anyone to say oh, I got my ach and that's it, I'm done with obedience forever, kind of a thing, is silly. Right? We're always evolving, always learning. There's always more. Your motivation will return, in some way, shape, or form. It's not gone forever. So don't panic about the panic. Okay. Don't feed into that and don't keep layering on stories that aren't true. Right. Make sure your challenge, if you are in this place, or if you've ever been in this place, or hopefully you will be in this place, not hopefully you'll be depressed about achieving a goal, but hopefully a big milestone is about to happen for you. So once that is over, get back in there with that goal, right? Start on your next goal. Start defining it. I love working with handlers who have, achieved their big goal for the year, or maybe they had a goal that they were working on for several years. And it's so fun to brainstorm well, what's next? What else do you want to do? How can you evolve your handling? How can you evolve your mindset in this time? What else can you be working on? Of course, I have to say, go back to your planner, go back to those goals that you made at the beginning of the year. What can you add to? What are some other things you want to be doing with your dogs? Okay. And like I said, we're working on confidence this month in the membership. You can always find me. I can always help you, brainstorm what's next for you and hopefully give you the motivation you need to get out of this post-goal slump and back in the game. Okay. So whatever you're up to this week, I hope you have a fantastic week with your dogs. Thanks so much for listening to the Mindset Coaching for Handlers podcast with me, Julie Bacon. I am so grateful for your precious time. Check out my Dogged Planner, workbook, and journal available on Amazon. Just search for Dogged Planner. I also offer monthly membership that's perfect for ongoing support of your awesome goals. Check out theqcoach.com for details, or just stop by and check out all the ways you can work on your mindset. And be sure to follow me on Facebook and Instagram at theqcoach and let me know how it's going. Finally, please share, subscribe, and leave a review. This helps us podcasters tremendously. Plus, I know I get my best podcast recommendations from friends. Thanks, and have a great week with your dogs.